everyone, my name is Jen and I'm a senior studying computer science and psychology at Johns Hopkins University.
And hi, my name is Iliana and I'm a senior at Columbia University studying computer science. Today we'll be showing you all some of the basics of using Figma. So first off, what is Figma? So Figma is a popular interface design tool that is free, completely web-based, although there is a desktop application you can use. And what makes it great is that it allows real-time collaboration between users and has both UI and prototyping features. Overall, it's a great one-stop application for designing and prototyping apps, websites, and any other interface-based product.
So let's talk about the Figma user interface. So this is what you'll see if you open up Figma, the desktop app version. So in the center, you'll have your workspace. The left panel will show you different boards and layers. Right panel will show you the properties and details of specific objects. So this could be colors, fonts, position, etc. And the header here will give you all the different tools that you can use. So here you'll see there is a move and a scale icon. So these two allow you to navigate across the workspace. This artboard tool allows you to add different frames. So here you'll see there's a bunch of templates that you can use. So this makes it really handy to do design for specific phones, tablets, desktops, all that stuff. This tool allows you to add rectangles, circles, all different types of shapes, or even place an image. And this pen tool allows you to create custom shapes with anchor points. So we won't get to custom shapes in this video, but this is definitely something that allows a lot of creative freedom. The text tool allows you to add text, and this hand tool allows you to move around the board. This last tool allows you to add location-specific messages, so this is really handy for collaborating. And on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's a share button. So this allows you to add different people to work on the project with you. So this is really handy for collaboration as well. And this play icon allows you to go through the prototyping design after you're finished.
So now that we know the basic tools that Figma has, let's go a little bit more in depth into how we move around our workspace. First off, if you pinch outwards, you'll see that I can zoom into my small template that I have here. And then if I pinch inwards, this will zoom out. So this is a great way to really get into the details, and it's an easy way to move around. Next, I'm going to be talking about the differences between the pointer versus the hand. Currently, I have selected the hand tool. This allows me to move around the workspace without accidentally moving or making changes to the layer below. So what this means is that if I use the point tool, you'll notice that when I hover over things, it allows me to select them, and not only just select them, but also move them around. If I right click on this or two finger click on this, you'll see that several options pop up. When you open up a Figma file, the move tool is selected by default, and this tool allows us to move around, as you can see, select elements, move elements around the document, make changes, etc. So the hand tool, in contrast, is really useful for when we just want to move around and we don't want to select anything. Lastly, if you really want to become a Figma pro, a great way to do this is by using some keyboard shortcuts. You can go down here to help in resources, and the bottom right, click keyboard shortcuts, and you notice that a panel at the bottom pops up. And so these are several shortcuts that you can use to make your Figma flow a lot faster and more efficient.
All right, awesome. So let's get started with the tutorial. So today we're going to mock up a really simple app design for Decrypted by Us. So this consists of a login page, as you see on the left, and a home page that you see on the right. After we create these two mobile app frames, we'll add a quick prototyping transition so that we can click on the login button and it'll bring us to the second frame. So hopefully this helps you get more comfortable with using Figma for your designs and prototypes.
So first, we want to create a separate page to be able to work on our prototype. So we are going to add a new page, and then we are going to call this our prototype. Here you'll see that we can go from our template page to our prototype page. So once I've set that up, this is a great way to start fresh. So after I've done that, I want to create two frames. So I'm going to go to frame. So here on the side, you'll see that you get a lot of options of different frames to pick from. So I'm going to focus on phones, and I'm going to pick an iPhone 8 template. We're going to put this to the side. And I want to make a second template like this one, also an iPhone 8's dimensions. And so here are now my 2 frames. So after we've done this, I want to change the color of my background. I'm going to click and I'm going to go to fill. So if you click this small square, you'll see that a color picker pops up. This is one way to pick a color. You can also put in either the hex number for a color and other things. Another way to pick it is by clicking these 4 dots. And so we've already pre-selected these colors and added them to our Figma environment. So I'm going to want to go with pink, and the other one I'm going to go with purple. I'm going to click these 4 dots, click like purple. I know that the pink one should be the sign-in page, and I know that the light purple one should be the home page. But if somebody else logs in, they won't know which one is supposed to be which. So I want to rename these and make sure that I'm staying neat with all my element creation. So I'm going to click my second page and I'm going to name this home page. And I'm going to select the second one and call this my sign-in page. So now that we have both of our frames named and with the color, we are going to upload an image. So I want to upload this Decrypted By Us logo. And so in order to do that, I'm going to go to the square icon and I'm going to click place image. This is going to open up my computer's documents. And so as you can see here, I've made a folder called Decrypted by Us, and in there is a PNG that I want to add to this. So I'm going to click this and I'm going to open it, and you'll see that it allows me to place it wherever I want. So I want to place this outside of any frame that I have created. And the reason for this is because the image will be sized according to wherever you place it. So if I click it in here, it will basically fill up all the sign-in page. So I always want to click outside of my frames because it makes it easier to navigate. So once I've clicked that, you'll see that my image, this is what I'm talking about. So you'll see that my image is quite big. So I'm going to make that smaller by dragging this inward. And you'll notice that when I upload my image to Figma, that the image is in the same level as our 2 frames. The reason for this is because Figma sort of works in layers. And so if I want to add this in here, I would drag it on top of my frame, and you'll notice that now my image has become part of my sign-in page and is now nested under my sign-in page. You'll also notice on the left panel that there's like lock and a little eye. As you can see here, I can move my image, but when I click the lock button, this element will be locked to its like respective layer, and so it will no longer move. This is great when like you have finished making changes and you want to keep that the same. Last, we have the eye icon. So this little icon will hide things, and so if I decide to hide my logo, that will basically disappear. And I can do the same thing with frames as well. So if you hide something of a frame, everything under it will also hide. And the same thing goes for the lock. So if I decide to lock my frame, everything below it will also be locked with it as well.
Okay, great. So let's create the input boxes for a person's username and password. So to do this, let's add 2 rectangles. After we click this square tool, we can click rectangle and basically click and drag the size of the rectangle that we want. So once you create that, you'll see that on the properties page, there's a bunch of different things that pop up. So you can pick between different types of alignment. We're going to go with the align in the center. And the X and Y values are the respective positions on the workspace. The width and the height changes the width and the height of the rectangle. And these 2 are the angle and rounded corners. If we change the rotation, it'll rotate the rectangle. If we want rounded edges for the sides, we can do like a bit of rounded edges to make it look a bit cleaner. So let's copy and paste this input box. The first one will be for the username and the other one will be for the password. After that, we can switch the color of it. Let's just do a white input box, and same thing for the password input box. The stroke is kind of the edges of the button. So if we don't want edges, we can just close that. And there's a bunch of different effects that you can also use on the input box. So there's an inner shadow, a drop shadow, a layer blur, a background blur. So all these are really helpful to make things look a bit more three-dimensional. So I'll just use the drop shadow for both of them. And then we can add text to kind of show what the user is supposed to input here. So the first one says username, and then the second one, we can say password. So for the text, you'll see that in the properties panel, an additional section is shown. You can change the font size, and the alignment of the text. So this is really useful to format the text. So the next thing we can do is add another rectangle for the login button. So let's make this login button about this big, and then same thing, let's add some rounded corners to it. And let's make this button the purple color. And then for the button, let's add also a text that says login. So to change the color, again, we can change it using the fill property, and then that looks good for our login button. So something cool that you can do on Figma is to group things together to make them a bit more cohesive. One way to do that is simply drag over the elements that you want to group together. So let's group the password input box with the password text. And if you right click, you can say group selection. So after that, you can rename it here to, let's say, password input. So this is really useful to keep things grouped together and cohesive. Another way to group things together is in your layers panel. If you click on a certain thing and then command click on whatever you want to group it with. So let's do rectangle 1 and the username. And then again, right click, group selection, and then we can name this username input. Same thing for our login button. Group it together and then name it login button. Now let's combine all that we've learned to create the homepage screen. First, we'll import an image just like Iliana did. So here I have another image that we can put. Again, it drops pretty large, so I'm gonna quickly minimize that and then kind of center it here. There, and then we can also just copy and paste things. So copy and paste this button, and then we can use that element again and kind of resize that if we wanted to. So let's line it in the center, and here we can name it, let's get started. We'll see that since we copied this, it's already grouped together, and then we can rename this to get started button.
So now that we have our design done, something else that is great about Figma is that you can also create working prototypes with your designs. Here, you'll notice on the right panel that there is a design, prototype, and inspect section. So we're going to click our prototype section. So what we want to ultimately do with our prototype is we want our sign-in page to move to our home page when the login button is clicked. So first off, when I click the login button, you'll notice that a little circle pops up. And so what this is Figma sort of automatically knows and will suggest a path for you. So if I were to drag this to my home page, this would create a working prototype. And so when I click my login page, this would then go to my home page. So in our case, because it automatically added the path, that is great, but let's assume that it didn't. So we are going to delete this and we are going to start from scratch. So I am going to want to select the element that I want the action to happen in. So I'm going to click my login button, and then from there, under my prototype section, I'm going to go to interactions and click the plus sign. So after I've done that, I'm going to open this up. And so this first circle with a little dot indicates what action you want to trigger this other action. So for our case, I want to do on tap, which is like the equivalent of doing on click. So I'm going to click on tap, and after that, this little arrow section is going to decide what I'm going to do after that first initial on tap. So in our case, like we said, we want to navigate to our homepage, so we are going to click navigate to. We encourage you all to sort of play around with these, but for us, we're just going to click navigate to. It is going to give me only one option because I have only one other frame, but if I had other frames, then they would also pop up as an option. And so you'll notice that this arrow is now made for me. Now that we've set that up, let's see our work in action. So we're going to do this by clicking this play button in the top right corner, And you'll notice that our creation is here, right, on an iPhone 8. And so after I've done this, I'm going to click the login button. And you notice that it takes us to our second page. So it worked and it does exactly what we want, which is very exciting. So I'm gonna go back to my Figma tutorial. And so now that I've done that, you'll notice that there is a third option in our right panel that is called Inspect. So what Inspect does is Inspect basically allows you to inspect like specific elements of your design. And so this is really helpful if you want to translate your designs and your prototypes into a like actual working application. And it's great because it provides us with like several dimensions. It also provides us with hex numbers to our colors and so on. It even gives you some like CSS and different code for specific implementations. So overall, the prototyping and inspect section of this are very helpful for getting your designs from like an idea to something that really represents more of like a working application.
Thank you guys so much for watching our tutorial. Hopefully this gave you some ideas into using Figma. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We post videos every Monday, and comment if you have any questions and we'll be sure to answer them. Thank you so much.
Bye.